Are you angry at the world right now? Do you feel that you've been taken advantage of? Maybe people have been horrible to you. Maybe people have leveraged you, used you, and just left you out. Maybe people have sabotaged you. Maybe people have stabbed you in the back. And you're angry and you're hurting right now and you don't know what to do about it. Well, my dear friend, that is a fantastic and a wonderful thing. I was too. And in this video, I'm going to share with you how I use that to create and craft the life I live today. Hey guys, my name's Yahya, founder and creator of Record Breaker, where I help you shatter past your highest revenue record months in the shortest amount of time. But in today's video, we're talking how I went from being fat, sick, low self-worth, and having daily panic attacks to building 5, 8, 7, and 6-figure businesses, losing all that weight, competing in competitions and winning, and enjoying the life that I'd always dreamt of enjoying. You will often find YouTubers sharing with you their successes, how they built $1 million business in just a year, how they went down and dirty and went deep and hard and did extremely well. But no one's going to share with you the reality of the situation. Instagram, YouTube, they're full of people showcasing their best sides, right? My life's awesome. My life never has problems in it. My life is golden, and you think they were born this way, but that's not reality. At least my life wasn't like that. So I'm going to share with you something that I haven't touched upon for the longest time, but it's important because that is what made me who I am today. So let's rewind back to 2010. I was head of business development for Pfizer. I was living what appeared to be a pretty cool life, a corporate cushy job, a company car, and all the benefits that came along with it. But I hated my life. I was out of shape. I'd been in shape in college, so it was horrible for me to be out of shape. I had a bunch of diseases in my system. I was living paycheck to paycheck. I had stress and anxiety through the roof. I was a victim of politics. There were people conspiring against me, and I felt that my world was about to end when I was told that sooner or later I would lose my job. Now, I had been burning the midnight oil. I'd been putting in nights, evenings, working hard, developing and executing on projects, doing what I thought was a great job, but it just wasn't good enough. And so I started to find myself rapidly moving into a cycle of predicting when something bad was going to happen to me, and then it would happen to me. And I started predicting who was against me, and then I'd find out, oh, they're actually against me. And so I became very good at predicting not just numbers, which I thought was my natural gift, but also predicting bad things. One bad thing to another, one bad thing, one bad person, one bad calamity that was going to happen. And so my life became me moving from one bad thing to another bad thing to another bad thing. And it became me thinking how to fix this one bad thing, then thinking about the next bad thing that was going to happen, experiencing that bad thing, fixing that bad thing, then worrying about the next bad thing, so on and so forth. Essentially, I hated my life. And so I remember at one point in time, I was sitting at my desk speaking to a friend of mine, and I felt like I was having a heart attack. A weird tingling sensation went up from the pit of my stomach all the way to my chest and blew up. And I thought I was gone. I thought I was having a heart attack. I immediately got up, told my friend, listen, man, I think I'm having a heart attack. And he was like, no, you're not. You're just having a panic attack. And I was like, what? What's a panic attack? I've never had a panic attack. I don't panic. I'm fine. I'm just stressed out, but I don't panic. I'm fine, right? Because back then, strong men did not experience panic. They didn't panic. And I prided myself on not panicking. The reality is I appeared to not be panicking, but on the inside, I was living in constant, chronic panic. And so that got me addicted to tranquilizers. Now I needed tranquilizers to function. Otherwise, I was experiencing panicky states all the time. I couldn't get on a plane because I thought the plane would crash. I couldn't drive my car because I thought I'd have a panic attack in the car. The car would crash and fall off a bridge, right? That's how your mind goes when your ability to predict and deal with calamity breaks. And my ability has broken. And so it came to a point in my life where I literally looked at myself and my life, and I thought about the fact whether this was a life worth living, right? I'm not saying I decided to end it or anything like that. That never crossed my mind. But I was disgusted by my life. I was locked in a perpetual state of victimhood. This person's doing something bad to me. They're doing something bad to me. Oh, this bad thing happened to me again and again and again and again. And I was disgusted and I was angry. And I was angry at the world. And I was angry at myself for putting up with what the world threw my way. And so something had to change. I had fallen so low. I had completely hit rock bottom to a state where I thought nothing worse. It couldn't get worse than that. And so I had to look at my life the way a person looks at their life right after they've had a heart attack and they've recovered, the way a person looks at their life when there's severe loss or an accident or trauma that happens. And they're like, something needs to change. This can simply not go on. And that was something that I decided one fine day in my life. As of this day forward, things are going to be different. I'm going to be a different person. I'm going to respond differently. I'm going to react differently. I'm going to hold myself to a different standard. Something needs to change. I cannot go on living like this. And so I took that deep anger within me and I started to deploy it in learning skills to cope with stress, anxiety, and emotional regulation. And so the first thing I needed to do was learn to control my mind, because my mind was driving me nuts. It was driving me haywire. And this is going to blow your mind, but it was 2010. I wasn't all that secure about who I was. And so I started with meditating. And during lunch hour, I would hide under my table. I would crawl under my table, sit there and meditate for 10 minutes. And I do it twice a day. Once in the morning before leaving for work, once during the afternoon during work to sort of let the panic subside. And that started to help. My thoughts slowly and gradually started to come back into my control. Now, the next thing I needed to do was change the way I saw the world, essentially the way I experienced the world. This involved shifting perspective. Now, most of us cannot shift perspective, right? If we see something as negative, we will continue to see it as negative because it's obvious for us. But I started an exercise where even if something was obvious to me, like this is a bad thing, I would train my brain and essentially train my eyes to see the positive in it. This was an exercise and it has to be done if you are to train the way you see the world differently. And so I would see someone who I considered an enemy or a bad person and I'd start looking for good things in them. And I did this every single day, twice a day, once in the morning, once at night, where I would reflect on the entire day, pick up all the bad things that happened to me and reframe them into good things that were meant for me. You've heard of the adage, life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. And it was time for me to start practicing this and start shifting the way I saw the world. Now, this took a couple of months because I was very deeply fixed in the way I saw things because I saw everything as a threat. But then things started to change and I started to see things that I never saw before. I started to see good things. I started to see opportunities. But more importantly, I stopped seeing threats. My brain stopped lighting up with danger signs every time something went wrong. Things continued to go wrong. It's just that I stopped responding to them the way I used to. And this was important for me because you can either focus on protecting yourself from the bad in life, or you can focus on growing and seizing the opportunities in life. You cannot do both. And I was chronically stuck in protecting myself from bad things. And I had to shift. Now, when I started seeing good things more than bad things, and I stopped being worried about things, I started to regain my self-confidence. I started to feel good about myself. I started to feel that I could take on bigger challenges and I could do well in them. And so the first thing I did was I dieted for the first time in my life. I bought Elliot Hulse's Lean Hybrid Muscle program back then, and I stuck to it for the duration of the program. It's got some pretty weird dieting techniques that I wouldn't recommend today. What's important is I stuck to it, so it gave me that boost of confidence that I have the ability to stick to something and execute and carry through and get it done, which is something that I'd lacked for the longest period of time. Also, the exercise and the diet paid off and my physique started to transform, and it transformed pretty dramatically. And it's not really the diet or the exercise that helped me the most. It's the person I was becoming, because the belief was that regardless of my external circumstances, I can get things done. I can stick to something. I have it in me to be the person I need to be to achieve what I wanted and needed to achieve. Because previously, throughout my life, I'd been lamenting myself for not being the person who was capable and who deserved respect and who was worthy of roles and titles and situations like that. This was changing, and this is very important because it allowed me to approach life with a completely new outlook. I was approaching life like a winning athlete, someone who'd managed to transform his physique, someone who'd by then managed to grow a business. So all these things were cementing and they were changing my identity. But most importantly, and the reason I'm sharing this with you guys, is everything started because I took a decision that I was no longer willing to put up with the way I was experiencing life. I had to believe that I deserved more in life. Nowadays, when people speak to me, they all unanimously say, Yahya, you help us believe in ourselves more. Because if you can believe that you're meant for greater things, your mind, your body, your emotions will automatically adapt and allow you to achieve. The real reason why people get stuck is because they don't believe they deserve it. They doubt, they start second guessing things. They just don't have the belief, and they're not given those beliefs, just like I wasn't given those beliefs by my surroundings, by my environment, by my family. I had to decide that I deserved more in life. I had to decide to believe in myself, because let me tell you, when you start things out, no one's going to believe you. When I started, I had no one believing in me. People thought I was crazy, following these weird diets, following these weird workouts in the gym, and being so overly aggressive and assertive in meetings, everybody thought that those things that now people applause me for were weird things being done by some random overweight, stressed out guy. Because that's who I was. At least that's who they thought I was. Because transformation for me started inside. I first had to get disgusted with myself. I first had to get angry. And all that anger overrode the embarrassment of what people are going to think about me if they see me doing these weird things. It overrode all the, oh, I don't feel like doing it. I don't feel like working out today. Let me go eat some food. It overrode everything. And that's why I say again and again, there needs to be deep-seated anger inside you to decide that you want more from life. And so here's the big thing I learned, that as I was going along in my journey, I was making mistakes. I was going through a lot of trouble. I was going through a lot of things that would have previously stressed me completely out. I would have had a panic attack every single hour. They weren't doing that anymore. And I realized that the reason that wasn't happening was not just because my perspective had shifted, but it's also because of the things I had been through. Every successful leader in this world, every successful person in a position of power is not there because they randomly got lucky. No, they're there because of what they've been through. And we often talk about it in today's culture where people have a lot of breadth, where they know a little bit about a lot of things. But in our world, we lack depth, where we know everything, where we know a few things inside out. And I tell people, the reason why people are appointed as CEOs and business owners are able to run their businesses, entrepreneurs are able to do well, is because of their depth of experience. Because depth requires guts, depth requires energy, it requires effort, it requires focus, it requires the tenacity to keep going while taking hits and still not giving up. Speak to any CEO, speak to any successful entrepreneur. They often sometimes will appear borderline delusional, and you have to be delusional. You have to believe that things are going to work out for you. And the reason and the source of that delusion is the life experiences we've had. If I hadn't been through all of that crap in my life, if I hadn't had a car accident that almost killed me, if I hadn't lost my job multiple times, if I hadn't been a patient of anxiety and diabetes, I wouldn't have been able to help other people because I wouldn't understand how other people are feeling, right? So as much as I would have liked to be that random 20-year-old guy who randomly got lucky and just did well, I wouldn't have the depth of experience to do it again and again and again and to help other people. The only reason I'm able to help other people is because I've been where they are right now. So this is my invitation to you. If you are at a point in your life where you hate your life, if you are at a point in your life where you are feeling victimized, where people are taking advantage of you, people are leveraging you, the odds aren't stacked in your favor. This is your opportunity. This is you being called to rise. This is it, ladies and gentlemen. This is where you get to decide what you want to do with your life for the rest of your life. So take those emotions, take that feeling, and use it to craft the new you. I hope this has been useful. I'm out of here. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.